Alright, listen up, you little munchkins. I'm gonna turn this flashlight bright. We're gonna round to the nearest tens and hundreds. Okay, how do we do that? Well, rounding is just moving up or down in a place value depending on the previous place value. For example, if I were to ask you to round 15 to the nearest tens, this is the tens place value. We're rounding 15 to the nearest tens. If it's in the middle, it's between 20, the nearest 10, and the nearest and 10. If it's between two tens, then we'd pick the highest. So we'd round to this one. This would now equal 20. Okay? So if I were to ask you to round 54 to the nearest tens, then we would look at the tens place value, and then we would look at the one before it, and we'd say, which one is it closer to? Is it closer to 50, or is it closer to 60? Well, this is closer to 50, so we would choose 50. 50 to the rounded to the nearest tens would be 50. 54 to round to the nearest tens would be 50. Okay, another example would be 72 rounded to the nearest tens. Well, let's look at the position, the tens place, and then let's look at the one before that, which is the ones place. Which one is it closest to? Is it closest to 70, this 10, or is it closest to 80, this 10? Well, it's closest to this one, so we'll circle that one. That would be 72 rounded to the nearest tens. Okay, now, if I were to ask you to round 330 to the nearest hundreds, how would we do that? Well, we would do it like this. We would look at the place value, the hundreds place value, in this case, that we're rounding to, the hundreds place value, and then we would look at the one before it. We would say, well, this is 30. What is it closer to? Is it closer to 400? Or is it closer to 300? Well, this is closer to 300. So 330 rounded to the nearest hundreds would be this one, would be 300. If I were to ask you to round 270 to the nearest hundreds, will we look at the place value, a hundreds place value, and then we look at the one before and say, well, is this closest to 200 and is it closest to 300, or is this closest to 200? And the answer would be 300. So that would be 270 rounded to the nearest hundreds. Now, if I were to give you the number 825, and I were to ask you to round it to the nearest tens, how would we do that? Well, again, we look at the place value that we're rounding to, which is the tens place value. Then we would look at the one before it, and we would say, well, what is this one closest to? Is this one closest to 30? Or is this one closest to 20? Well, it's in the middle, so we always go up. We always round up. So it would be 825 rounded to the nearest 20, rounded to the nearest tens, would be 830. We can do this again. Let's say we got a number 496 rounded to the nearest tens. How do we do this? Well, we look at the tens position. That's the position we're rounding to. And we say, we look at the one before it. And we say, well, which one is this closest to? Is this closest to 90? Or is this closest to, I guess, 500? It would be the next tens position, but the next tens position, when this would just be 100. Well, it's closest to 500. It's 4 away from 500. So 496 rounded to the nearest tens would be 500. That's how you round to the nearest. That's how you round to the nearest tens and hundreds places.